If you've ever found yourself out of sync during a conversation, or wondered why people put so much effort into fitting in, or if social interactions have started to feel like a game you're not interested in playing, then this video is for you. And if you haven't felt this way, maybe it's time to ask yourself if you've been living a lie. Today, we're diving into an uncomfortable truth. Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher known for his views on pessimism, saw this reality with brutal clarity. Most people are trapped in a farce. They dress, speak, and act the way they think they should, not because it reflects their true nature, but because they've been conditioned to seek acceptance. But here's the question no one asks: acceptance from whom? Think about how many times you've endured meaningless conversations just to avoid seeming rude. How many times have you laughed at a joke you didn't find funny, or felt like every social interaction was a transaction where you had to give up a piece of yourself just to belong? Now the real question: at what cost? Schopenhauer made it clear: intelligence and social life are at odds. The smarter you are, the less sense you see in the farce. Not because you're arrogant, but because you see things others miss. You see the masks people wear, the lies disguised as courtesy, the fragility of a world where everyone's desperately seeking validation from others. And the most frightening part? Most people prefer to ignore it. Society is designed to entertain you, not to make you think. Because when you think too much, you start to notice the contradictions. You realize that most relationships are shallow, that most conversations are just noise, and that the need to fit in is a form of self-sabotage. Here's the dilemma. If you're smart enough to see this, you're also smart enough to feel the loneliness that comes with it. Let's be honest, the more you think, the less you fit in. And people sense it. They can tell you're not part of the collective hysteria. You don't buy into social rituals with the same blind enthusiasm, and that bothers them. Your very existence challenges the bubble they've created for themselves. Schopenhauer didn't hold back. Solitude is the fate of all great minds. And that truth hurts. It hurts because society has sold you the idea that happiness comes from social connections, that you need friends, circles, a sense of belonging. But what happens when most of those connections are empty? What happens when you realize that the price of socializing is mediocrity? That's when you begin to look for something more. You start to withdraw. You begin to value your time more than other people's approval. And here's what's curious. At first, loneliness feels like punishment, but over time, it becomes a privilege. Because in solitude, you find something society tries to hide from you at all costs: peace of mind. Schopenhauer understood this better than anyone. To him, intelligence wasn't just a gift, it was also a curse. The more you understand the world, the less excited you are by it. The more you see human nature, the less you want to be a part of its game. And here's where many misunderstand him. They think his philosophy is an invitation to misanthropy, to hating people, or to rejecting all social contact. But it's not. It's about understanding the difference between interaction and obligation. It's about giving yourself permission to choose when and with whom to socialize, not just going along with what's expected. It's about realizing that true intelligence doesn't need external validation. But here's the twist. When you stop seeking acceptance, something profound happens. People start to notice. They see that you're not desperate to fit in, that you don't need their approval, that your world doesn't crumble when you're not invited to the next social gathering. And that confuses them, because most people are trapped in the need to be seen, heard, approved. And you, by not participating in that game, become an enigma, one that both intimidates and intrigues them. The irony: the less you care about social validation, the more power you hold over it. True freedom starts when you no longer worry about what others think of you. So the next time someone tells you to socialize more, to try harder to be sociable, to conform, remember, it's not you who's wrong. You're simply someone who's seen the truth. And for most, the truth is far too uncomfortable to face. Once you realize that you don't need validation, something else shifts. Silence becomes your ally. And that terrifies others. We live in a world of constant noise, social media, trivial conversations, news designed to provoke reactions. Everything is created to keep you distracted. Because silence forces you to think, and thinking is dangerous. Schopenhauer didn't just understand this, he lived it. He spent most of his life away from society, immersed in philosophy, music, and contemplation. Not because he hated people, but because he understood that the noise of the world clouds the mind. But here's where people get it wrong. They confuse solitude with isolation. There's a massive difference between being alone and being isolated. Being alone is an act of power. It's choosing depth over superficiality, quality over quantity. Isolation, on the other hand, is a curse. It's what happens when someone wants to fit in, but can't. They desperately seek acceptance, but never find it. Here's the irony. The person who seeks acceptance is often rejected, but the one who rejects it by choice will never truly be alone. Why? Because when you walk your own path, without seeking approval, you attract those who truly matter. You attract people who think, who question, who don't need to fill every second of their life with noise. And here's the truth. Intelligence isn't antisocial. It rejects the banal. Think of the great geniuses of history. They weren't antisocial, but they weren't willing to waste time on shallow conversations either. Da Vinci spent years focused on his work, without feeling the need to share every thought with the world. Tesla worked obsessively on his inventions, too consumed to explain himself to others. These figures were often seen as eccentric or difficult, but they weren't following society's script. And that's where their brilliance thrived. Social life, you see, is just a set of routines designed to keep you within the system. From birth, you're taught that being accepted is the ultimate goal, that you need friends, a group, and that isolation is bad. But no one tells you that many people with large social circles feel empty. No one tells you that the best ideas, the most profound revolutions, and the greatest discoveries came from minds that dared step away from the noise. Here's where many people go wrong. They think the answer is to completely reject society, to become a hermit, disconnect from the world, and live in isolation. But the truth is, true power isn't in running away from the world. It's knowing when to engage with it and when to step back. True power is moving in the shadows when the noise is too loud, but appearing with strength when necessary. Think of the great strategists. They weren't always in the middle of the battle, but when they showed up, their impact was undeniable. Schopenhauer said that superior intelligence is destined for solitude, but not as a punishment. It's an advantage. In solitude, you can build something meaningful. But what about those who don't understand this? What happens to those who think happiness only comes from others' approval? They live in a cycle of dependency. Every photo, every story, every opinion, they're all just trying to get a reaction, to feel validated. Here's the hard truth. If your existence depends on the approval of others, you're not truly living. You're just a reflection of what others expect. True freedom isn't about doing whatever you want without consequences. It's about not needing anyone's approval to do what you desire. It's being able to be alone in silence, without feeling anxious or needing distractions. If you can't do that, then you're a prisoner of noise. Schopenhauer understood this deeply. He distanced himself from the world, not out of rejection, but as a strategy. Only from a distance can you see reality clearly. Only in silence can you hear your own voice. By now, you know something is wrong with modern social life. You see that many of your interactions are just formality. You know that true growth doesn't happen in the noise, it happens in introspection. The question now is, will you have the courage to accept this truth? Because once you do, there's no going back. The trivial becomes unbearable. The need to fit in disappears. All that's left is the truth. The truth is, solitude isn't a punishment. It's a privilege. And it's a privilege reserved for those strong enough to endure it. You can no longer deceive yourself. You can't pretend that empty conversations fulfill you or that external validation matters. The truth is, life isn't about fitting in. It's about finding what truly resonates with you and having the courage to follow that path, even if it means walking alone. The brutal paradox: the more you dare to be yourself, the more you attract others. People crave authenticity, but few have the courage to be real. Those who do, though, end up being followed, not because they sought it, but because true freedom is rare and magnetic. So, what will you do with this information? You can ignore it, pretend you never saw this video, go back to your life and keep playing along with the farce. Or you can choose the harder path, accept the discomfort of truth, embrace the idea that you'll never be understood by the majority, and stop betraying yourself just to fit in. In the end, there are two types of people in the world: those who adapt and those who find themselves. The majority will choose the easy path because it's safer, more comfortable, but those who choose the harder road, those are the ones who leave a true mark on the world. So tell me, what kind of person are you? If you've made it this far, leave a comment with the phrase, "Silence is power." Those who understand this are the ones ready to play life's game by their own rules. And if this video made you think, if it resonated with you, subscribe. This is just the beginning. See you in the next video.